Bum 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 bum, clang clang clang, a ding along ding dong blue, blue blue.
Pull up the car, stop the traffic, get out the barricades. It's time for Mickey B's Jukebox Review.
You're with Mickey B, and you're on the Jukebox Review right here on MadhouseTV.com. And we talk about a great night. This is a fabulous night. We're going to meet one of the greatest entertainers in the history of rock and roll. Why? Started out as a singer, a songwriter, a musical producer, an actor. Went from a group called the Harbor Lights to Jay and the Americans to Professor Plano and the Planetones. And Frankie D, who are we talking about?
None other than the great Kenny Vance.
Kenny Vance, welcome to Mickey B's Jukebox Review, live here on Madhouse Television.
Good to see you, man.
And how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you.
The only thing I'm missing right now is that hat. Otherwise, we can't recognize you. You want to throw that on for a second? Let's see that hat, because that hat symbolizes Kenny Vance and the Planetones. Usually, I never start off a show talking about a guy's hat, but tonight I'm going to do that. Tell me a little bit why the hat.
I decided to form the Planetones in 1992. In 1990, I was in a movie called Billy Bathgate, and I was playing a gangster. And I fell in love with this hat. And I guess I took it from the set. And we were playing, I was playing by myself at the Bottom Line. Mm-hmm. And the next day, I had a couple of days later, I had to do the Uncle Floyd show, like your show,
right.
like a
TV show.
TV show, and I just didn't want to go by myself. And Bruce Sedano and Eddie Hokinson were in town, mm-hmm. and I got a couple of other guys, and we went down there, and they said, what should we wear? Because none of us had matching clothes. I said, get a hat. So everybody showed up with a different hat. And that's
how it came about.
Yeah.
We got a major history here on Kenny Vance that could go on for hours, but we have an hour show. Frankie D, give me some statistics on Kenny Vance's album sales.
Album sales, thousands and thousands and millions of albums. He did 15 albums alone with Jay and the Americans. And then on his own, his studio albums, he did 13 studio albums, Mickey, as a musical director. 17. And then as an actor, he's been in 17 movies. Am I right, Kenny?
That's true. I think the biggest hit that I had, though, was as a producer, which was Eddie and the Cruisers, because that album sold 4 million copies. And I actually got a chance. John Cafferty was the voice of Michael Paré, and I was the voice of Sal, Sal Amato from the Cruisers.
Right.
And when he sings in the Holiday Inn, I sing those oldies. It's really oldies but goodies. It's really me singing, and he's lip syncing to me.
Well, you did that a couple of times. You also did that in Looking for an Echo with Armand Desant, which I met with you.
Well, that
the opening time.
That was.
But what I want to do, Kenny, is I want to go back in time. Let's get started back from the days you were a little kid. You were born in what part? In what part of Brooklyn?
I was born at Brooklyn Jewish Hospital on Prospect Park.
And you lived in what area of Brooklyn at the time?
The Flatbush area of
Flatbush
Brooklyn.
area?
Family moved around a lot.
Yeah.
And at some point, before high school, they moved out to Rockaway Beach, Bell Harbor. Mm-hmm. And that's where I grew up, my teenage years, and started there was a group, the Harbor Lights, with Sandy Aguda and Sidel Sherman.
Okay.
I joined the Harbor Lights, and we made a couple of records. In 1959, we made Is That Too Much to Ask on the Jarrow label.
Right.
And then we were on the
Ivy.
same label as you. We were on Mala.
You were on Mala, right?
Mala. With
Now,
the
wasn't that
Harbor-
with Ivy record? Was that Ivy that time, too?
We were produced by George Weiss, who was the owner of Ivy Records. But what they would do is they only put out certain records on Ivy, like Lullaby of the Bells by the Deltas. They also made a record that you love, Genie by the Unique Teens,
great
written
song.
by George Weiss,
Uh-huh.
and one of the Unique Teens. And that they would sell the masters. So that came out on the Hanover label, and our record came out on Jarrow, the first one, and the second one on Mala. That's where I met you.
Now the Harbor Lights, you just mentioned Sandy Aguda, you mentioned Sidel. Was it
Yes,
Sidel?
Sidel Sherman.
Who else was part of that group?
That was it. Just
That was
the
it,
three
just the
of-
three of you.
The trio,
And
yeah.
you came out with a little trio and so forth. Now, when you started, did you start off singing in public school? Did you do anything in junior high school? Did you enter any contests at the time? How did you know you had this capability to do this kind of music?
I didn't. You know, I was very shy. I would buy 45s,
Uh-huh.
and I would take them. This is, starting in the middle 50s. I would buy 45s and take them into my mother's basement and listen to them. And I started to sing the bass parts, the falsetto parts,
Right.
the lead parts,
Right.
and sort of that's how I got into it. Then when I met the Harbor Lights, basically just joined the trio, and I didn't realize that. Then we formed Jay and the Americans, and I was basically one of the Americans, a background singer, and I didn't really have any aspirations to be the lead singer. But when we did the movie, I was the music director of American Hot Wax, and the director said, we need a prototype group. And I thought, oh, you know what? I could do this. I had left Jay and the Americans in '72, and now it's 1978. And,
Okay.
And I thought, well, I was kind of itching to do it again.
All right.
And I became Professor Laplano.
Before we go there to Professor Plan, let's
Yeah.
go back. Let's go back to Janie Merkins. I
Sure.
got some nice shots over here that you see on the side of some of
Oh,
the
yeah.
album jackets that you
I
guys had.
see. I'm in the middle.
You
on
see
the
that
top.
you're always the tall guy in the middle.
tall
let's
guy in the
shoot
middle.
some of those pictures. And there's a shot of course, it looks like Janie Merkins on the rooftop of a building in Brooklyn.
Oh, my God.
You see
I'm
that?
in the middle there.
You're always in the middle.
Middleman.
There you
That
go.
was the Statue of
There's
Liberty.
another great shot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did it come about? I mean, here you are, and Lieber and Stoller.
That's me in the middle again. Yeah.
That's you in the middle, and that's you with the hat on. I had there
Yeah.
live right now. See that? And Kenny, let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Lieber and Stoller. How did they come to Janie Merkins? Tell me the whole
There
thing.
was a guy by the name of Terry Phillips. We had the Harbor Lights, and he made a few records by himself under the name Terry Phillips. And he met Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller at a party one night, and he wound up singing, and he wound up discovering that they were signing a few writers. And they had a meeting with him at NOLA Studios at 111 West 57th Street. I remember that because that's where we would rehearse for the Murray the K show.
Yep.
Before. And he come up to the studio, and he says to me, Terry Phillips, years later, says to me, and I see Jerry and Mike, and they had the one guy that they had signed as a writer. And it was a little guy, he said he looked like Jiminy Cricket, and it was Phil Spector. So they paired these two guys together to write. And they wrote songs for Dion. They wrote songs for Johnny Nash. And when I was 16, he hired me to sing on the Johnny Nash records produced by Phil Spector. He discovered that Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller now were not only making records for Atlantic, Yakety Yak, Charlie Brown, Searchin', Love Potion #9, the Coasters, but they also produced the Drifters. They now had a deal with United Artists, so they needed some groups.
Okay.
So Terry Phillips brings us up to Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, and we auditioned with a song that we had learned a cappella, which was Wisdom of a Fool by the Five Keys.
Oh, great song.
And that's the song that got us our audition with them. And I would say about 8 months later, that was with Jay Traynor, Sandy, Howie, and myself. Right. And about 8 months later, we had our first big hit with She Cried.
With She Cried. What a tremendous song.
Yeah, tremendous.
And Kenny, where did the name Jay and the Americans come from?
I believe that Jerry Lieber wanted to call us Binky Jones, and that he wanted the lead singer to be known as Binky Jones, and there was a airline ticket on the desk of a guy named Danny Kessler, who was their partner, and they decided, I think he was going out with a stewardess and he wanted to impress her, so they called us the Americans, and then Jerry decided to call us Binky Jones and the Americans, and we said we can't, you know, because he had a cartoon-like imagination writing all of those coaster songs, and we didn't like it. So he says, well, what's the guy's name? And John Traynor says, well, what's his nickname? Jay. And that basically is how it happened.
Kenny, the song Only in America, a song that was really written for the Drifters.
Correct.
Am I right?
That's correct.
And the Drifters laid down the whole song with their soundtrack, but something happens. Tell me the story behind that.
Well, it was before integration, and you know, it was a different world in those days. And I was up in Jerry Lieber's office, and I loved hanging out there. And they used me sometimes as I was a kid. Right. So they would say, well, what do you think of this? Or I had the taste of a 14-year-old. And I'd say, oh, I like this or I like that. And then they played me Only in America by the Drifters. And at that point, we hadn't had a hit since She Cried, which was in '62. In those days, when you're 18, a year seems like an eternity.
Yes.
So I said, well, how about giving it to us? And so they worked out a deal with Ahmet Erdogan over at Atlantic. It was the first 8-track studio. Up until then, we recorded mono or 4-track.
Yeah.
And so they worked it out where they didn't have to, they could take a fader and remove the Drifters' voices and put us on, because they had open tracks. So that's why many years later, Billy Vera put together a box set on the Drifters, and he used the version of the Drifters singing Only in America. So he called up Atlantic, and then they remixed it with them singing it.
Right. What was amazing is that Jay and the Americans' voices could fit exactly onto a Drifters song.
Well, they had the track, and luckily it was in a key that worked for us.
What was your favorite Jay and the Americans song?
My favorite was the follow-up to She Cried, which wasn't a hit. It's called This Is It. You know it, I'm sure, because you know, you have like an encyclopedic mind for this stuff. But
why did you like that so much?
It's just a great group song, and it was the follow-up to She Cried. You should play it at some point.
Yeah.
And I believe it was written by Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich.
Okay.
And who were working for Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller at the time. It was just a great group song, and it just had it has a wonderful feeling even today when I play it, which is rarely. I just say, yeah, I love this song.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to take a commercial message, right? A break. When we come back, I'm going to talk to you about the American Hot Wax Story.
Sure.
With Jay Leno.
Yeah.
Fran Drescher. Tim McIntyre.
Yeah.
Kenny Vance and the Planetones.
Yeah.
You're out on stage.
Yeah.
We're going to do all of that when the Prince of Rock and Roll returns right here on Madhouse TV on Mickey B's Jukebox Review. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Tom Mealy from the Harrison Law Group. You know, soft tissue injury, that's no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. Don't waste valuable time going to firms who don't get it and can't do it. Call 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Huntington Toyota, the experience of a lifetime. Don't take our word for it.
The experience for me at Huntington Toyota made me feel very comfortable.
It's their professionalism, their honesty, and their integrity. I've bought at least 9 or 10 cars here at Huntington Toyota. They give me the best price around.
It never was about high pressure. It never was about them. It was always about us.
Today's cars are very similar, but Huntington Toyota is very different.
Huntington Toyota, where it's all about you.
Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware.
We have 3 of the largest showrooms of safes on display and in stock. You can see and touch them in person instead of browsing a catalog. We carry gun and rifle safes, burglary safes, jewelry safes, fire rated from a half hour to 2 hour. Famous name brands.
We sell Gardol.
We sell AMSAC.
The new AMSAC touchscreen.
If you're ever in need of a safe, think Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware. Right, Lockie?
That's right, Alan.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
Ray, I don't know. Are you sure clicking this thing will get us online?
Well, try dragging it.
Faster.
You're just a mouse click away from a better way to rent movies. Blockbuster Total Access. Movies through the mail plus movies through the store. One low price.
Here's the problem. We forgot to plug it in.
Oh! Don't even think about it!
Get a free trial at your Blockbuster store or Blockbuster.com.
This is Beth.
Hi.
Oh, congratulations. When are you due?
I'm not pregnant.
Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
You're totally thin.
You look very sexy.
For life's bleachable moments, all it takes is 3/4 of a cup.
We're back here with Mickey B, the Prince of Rock and Roll, Madhouse TV, as I'm relaxing in my summertime shirt. I got Kenny Vance here. And Kenny, it's a hot day outside today, about 93 degrees, I think it was.
You had me put my hat on.
But I'm glad that you put the hat on because we got to make sure that that signifies the Planetone sound, you know.
I understand.
But you know what, Kenny? Right after Jay and the Americans, you have a little lapse of time. You come out with Vance 32. When was that CD created? When was the last song that you did with Jay and the Americans? What year?
Was 1972. The last song we did was we had Walter Becker and Donald Fagen playing on that track.
Oh, yeah.
And we did an album called the Capture the Moment album around 1970. And I think by 72, we might have made the last record in 71. We recorded Solitary Man and There Goes My Baby.
Mm-hmm.
And really a good record.
Song.
Yeah, a good record. But it didn't happen, and it was just time to move on. It was, you know, we had been together for 13 years, and
you would do a lot of things. I mean, between you were producing all kinds of music. You had an office in the Brill Building, right?
We had an office called JADA, Jay and the Americans, JADA, and that's where I met Donald and Walter.
Okay, now tell me a little bit about the office. What were you doing at that time? Producing records, producing groups?
We decided to. What happened was that after we had a long period of many hits like Come a Little Bit Closer, Let's Lock the Door, Think of the Good Times, Caramia, Some Enchanted Evening, Crying, then we kind of lost steam, and United Artists hooked us up with different producers. So the first producer they hooked us up with was Joe Wizard, who produced Happy Together.
Mm-hmm. For the Turtles.
And we made a record with him, and it didn't work out. And then we made a record with Feldman, Goldstein, and Goddard, and that didn't work out. And then they hooked us up with a guy who had just produced Traffic, and he brought us a Stevie Winwood tune called Shanghai Noodle Factory.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we recorded that with Jimmy Miller, who produced the Rolling Stones. And it also wasn't right. It was a great, great experience working with him. He just had done Jumpin' Jack Flash. And then what happened was that we decided maybe we know better than anyone else. Let's produce ourselves. So we went into the studio, back to 4-track studio, 1968, and we produced This Magic Moment. And it came out, and it was the biggest record we ever had. It sold 1,600,000 singles at that time. And right at that point, Richard Nader was starting the rock and roll revival, and he put us on the show at Madison Square Garden, and that revived our career.
That was in '68. Now, when you talk about Richard Nader, I have a picture there with Richard Nader and you. If we could see if we could bring that up, there's a Richard Nader picture. It'll probably come there. It is Richard Nader.
God,
now, here's what happens, Kenny. I'm going to jump a little bit ahead.
Where'd you get that?
I got these pictures. They're a hidden secret, you know. You and Richard Nader. But here's the story that happens. After you see Richard Nader about 1968, there's a lull of a period of time, right?
That picture was taken in maybe 91.
Right.
And what hat? There's the hat.
Well, I'll tell you where that picture was taken, actually. It's right after my radio show.
Right.
Because what happened was, and we're going to go back to American Hot Wax, Professor Plano and the whole story, and then I'm going to go backwards. We're going to go to Nader, and I'm going to go backwards.
Okay.
Richard Nader comes on my radio show as my guest on WGBB radio on a Saturday afternoon. And I don't know how I got hold of you or you got hold of me, but whatever happened at that time, you had formed Professor Plano, and of course from the American Hot Wax movie. And that movie came out what year?
78.
That was in 78, American Hot Wax.
Yeah.
But the period of time lingers on.
Right.
And then you reform this Kenny Vance and the Planetones.
Well, what?
Named after, of course, that. Tell me a little bit more about it.
Well, what happened? It's really the truth. I came to your show.
Right.
Out on the island.
About 1992.
And Richard Nader was there. And what had happened, Looking for an Echo, which I made in 74, and then I did American Hot Wax and Animal House and The Warriors and all these different films. But what happened, unbeknownst to me, that people like yourself and Don K. Reed and people were playing Looking for an Echo. And by 92, 20 years later, it became a cult hit. So when I met Richard Nader at your show, he says, why don't you come to the Nassau Coliseum
and play in the middle
of
it.
So I went there. There's 20,000 people there. And I went just with, sitting on the
guitar.
stool with the acoustic guitar. And I started singing the song, and I sing the song, and I didn't know how to end it. So at the end, I did some falsetto.
Yeah.
And when I did it, the people went crazy.
They loved it.
Oh, this is a good gimmick.
They loved it. They loved it.
So I got to, in show business, you need a gimmick. So,
and that's
when I decided, because Richard Nader, he decided he would book us now.
Yes.
As Kenny Vance and
And
the
that's what
Planetones.
started this whole
And that's
thing.
what started the whole thing.
From 92 to now.
To now.
When I first met you, we went back to 1961. You came on the radio show, and I'll never forget this because you were a collector of almost everything you did.
Right.
And you said to me, Mickey, I brought you an article of Jay and the Americans and Tico and the Triumphs, of which Paul Simon was part of our group.
Right.
But Paul sometimes never traveled with us. We went on our own. And you said, here's an article. When we were with George Maharis.
We played together.
Yes.
In Syracuse
or
Rochester.
New York. Syracuse, New York.
There were 50,000 people there.
And we're there.
That's where we met the first time.
Yes, and you bring me this article
Yep.
in 1992 from 1961. So
I had a museum in my house, not only of my stuff, but of everybody's stuff that I knew. Friends of mine would always call me up, directors, and say, you got the tape of that? And I go, yeah, I had it.
And Kenny, I want to say something about the loss of your home. We all feel for you, your audience, all of us are like your family. So when we heard that, we were really devastated along with you. And I don't really know what that means, but I could tell what it means. Not only lose your house, but lose everything that you ever saved in your life through this entire business. But we're there for you, and we'll always be there for you. And you know that. You're one of the, what we call in Judaism, a Hamisher guy, a real guy, down-to-earth guy that cares about people. You've always been that way, and we love you. People love you. This whole audience loves you, you know. And they're going to see it again at Patchogue Theater when we do this Saturday night. We're sold out again with
great.
you and and the Duprees and the Fireflies and the Cookies and Cleveland Still and the Dubs, who you had in the movie Looking for an Echo.
Yeah.
That's another story in itself.
Yeah.
But you know what I want to do right now? I want to go back to the movie American Hot Wax.
Sure.
How you got the name? How did you get the name Professor Planatone? I mean, Plano.
Well, luckily, it was now the record Looking for an Echo had come out in '75, and now it's around '77, and somebody played these guys, Floyd Mutrix and Art Linson, who were getting ready to do this movie, Looking for an Echo. So they thought, well, this guy, why don't we fly this guy out and see maybe he's the right guy to be the music director to put this whole show together for the movie. So they flew me out there, and I remember they picked me up in a limo, you know, at the airport, and they drove me to Paramount Pictures, and I get out, and there's a fake sky.
Yeah.
You know, for a kid from Brooklyn, it's, like a wild scene. And I went to meet them in the office, and they hired me right on the spot to be the music director. So in the course of the next 5 or 6 months putting the movie together, we hired Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, Frankie Ford, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, and we rented the Wiltern Theater on Wilshire Boulevard, and we dressed it to simulate the Brooklyn Brooklyn Paramount Theater. So at some point before this took place, I had to put the show together, and the director said to me, well, we need this particular prototype group. We had the Black Girls group, the D-Lights. We had the Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers group. And we needed this other group. And I thought, well, I could do it. And I called Neil Bogart, who sent over Bruce Sedano,
later on,
Eddie Hokinson, and Joe Esposito. And they became the Planetones. And I was staying at a guy's house, and I needed a name. Well, what's the name? And he had a photo essay book, with pictures, and it said, Real Life in Louisville in the 20s. And I'm looking through it, and I see a marquee, and there's a magician by the name of Professor Laplano, Professor Frederick Laplano, and it says, see a woman sawed in two at each performance for 5 cents. So I said, yeah, Professor Laplano and the Planetones.
And that was it.
And that was it.
Well, here's what we're going to do. Let's go live on the stage, back to California. You think it's the Brooklyn Paramount. Watch this now.
Is there anybody here from Brooklyn? On Flatbush Avenue, the Planetones with Professor Laplano.
Forget that story. Get out of here.
Rock and roll is here to stay. It will never die. It was meant to be that way. No, I don't know why. I don't care what people say. Rock and roll is here to stay. Rock
Right here with Mickey B. And, of course, watching that really brings me back to the Brooklyn Paramount. This time it was Professor Plano, and it was actually Kenny Vance and the Planetones. Kenny, how old were you at that particular time when that movie came out? You look like about
12.
About 15 years old, you look like. But I'll tell you one thing, those were the days. Huh, Kenny, reliving that full audience. Today you got the same thing out there. We go to the shows, you got sold-out shows.
It's unbelievable.
Even now.
It's unbelievable.
It's remarkable.
I know.
Yeah.
It's 50,
now listen, when
60.
you do the show, I don't know if you ever do, rock and roll is here to stay the way you did as Professor Plano that
You
night.
know, it's a great idea. We should.
We've got to do that. We've got to
We
introduce.
really should do it.
Matter of fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'll have to rent one of those jackets and come out as Tim McIntyre on Saturday night.
I love it.
And bring you on.
Maybe for the next
the
show
day.
in Patchogue, we'll
Yeah,
do it.
as
I'll
the
try
day.
to get the guys to do
I'm
it.
so
Except we
happy
can't
with
do any splits.
No splits on the stage. That's okay. Hey, listen, Kenny, I want to ask you a question. You have 2 children.
Yeah.
What are their names?
Greg and Lad.
And Lad. And Lad, I know, sings a lot of times with you.
Yeah, he's going
right?
to be actually coming in this summer and do some singing with me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And your other son is
Greg.
Greg, does he sing at all?
Yeah.
He sings too?
Yeah.
So we got to get you up there with the 2 kids.
And Bewar, we
One
could
day,
be the innocents.
The innocents or something.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any grandchildren?
2.
And what are their names?
Madison and Mason.
Madison and Mason.
Yeah.
Not named after Jackie Mason, but
No,
Madison
no.
Mason. Where do they live today?
In L.A.
In L.A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to.
Do they like you? Do they like what you do?
They like me.
grandchildren?
Yeah, they actually
like, it?
like me.
Yeah?
They're going to. I know it's hard to believe, but they like me, and
No, I mean, they like
I'm
the
going to
music.
take
Of
them
course, they
down to
love Grandpa.
down to Disney World in next month.
Oh, are you?
In Orlando, yeah.
Now, I know one thing, because I know this before, and I want to ask you to do something for me. I was going to ask you to do some other song, like a street corner song.
Yeah.
But I know you wrote a song for your grandchild.
Yeah.
And will you do it for me?
Yeah.
I don't want to cry on this thing, but...
You know, she when she was a little baby, I can't believe she's 12, but when she was a little baby, my son has a guitar. So she would put her head over here. When she was like 2, and she went dee 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 dee. I guess that's what it sounded like to her. So she thought my name was Dee Dee, and they called me Dee Dee. So I wrote this song for her. I know a girl with a smiling face. She's the greatest in the whole human race. I'm her Dee Dee. She's my medicine. She's got a brother, and he's really very sweet. He runs around the house all day on his little feet. His name is Mason. She's my medicine. They live in sunny California on Corbin Avenue. I wish that I could see them every day, sit around and watch them while they play. I fly from New York just to see them smile, and when they do, you know it drives me wild. His name is Mason. She's my medicine. She's my medicine. His name is Mason. She's my medicine.
Oh, that's fantastic, Eddie. What a great song.
Thank you.
Are you going to record that and put that on a...
I probably
album
should.
You
Yeah.
got to do it. You got to
Okay.
do it. I mean, your market is a major market of grandma and grandpas today, you know. So how could
true.
people not want
You're
to...
right. I should do it.
You know, dedicated to my grandchild.
I should
Absolutely.
do it. It's a good idea.
You might have to do an album like that. You know, I mentioned to you and Johnny Gale when you were on my radio show one time about doing a duet album, and
Yeah.
they did the album. I think one day we've got to do an album dedicated to grandparents.
It's
as the
true.
way the grandchildren would hear the
It's
song.
true.
You know, Kenny, you remind me, as you're doing this song, you know, I sang with Paul Simon. And Paul, and you have a certain flavoring, that laid-back guitar playing, and I hear it, the Paul Simon and Kenny Vance type of sound. What is that sound that we're hearing? I mean, it's, what does Kenny Vance feel?
It's like, Ronnie, dig my clothes, yeah, boy. It's like these songs live in our imagination. So when we do them, it's like we don't want to copy them. He could never copy Whispering Bells.
No.
The record by the Dell Vikings is the most amazing record. You can't. You just can't. So he does Diamonds on the Soles of My Shoe. If you listen to the two of them together, it's basically, it's very similar. So it's he takes all of the music that we loved as kids, and he's able to, it goes through some sort of a process, and then it comes out in a different way.
We're here with Kenny Vance, and of course, Kenny and the Planetones will be at the show this Saturday night, sold out, Patchwork Theater. Hopefully you had gotten your ticket, but Kenny will always be with us at the theater, so check him out wherever he's appearing, because this is the guy you want to see. When we come back, we got more from Kenny Vance on a stage when the Prince of Rock and Roll returns. Don't go away. We'll be right back, right here at Madhouse TV on Mickey B's Jukebox Review.
One resident describes her horrifying experience when she first realized the complex was on fire.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Well, I woke up to go give me a cold pop. Then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing. Jesus, I ran for my life. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 it's a fire. Oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
When your cable's on the fritz, you get frustrated. When you get frustrated, your daughter imitates. When your daughter imitates, she gets thrown out of school. When she gets thrown out of school, she meets undesirables. When she meets undesirables, she ties the knot with undesirables. And when she ties the knot with undesirables, you get a grandson with a dog collar. Don't have a grandson with a dog collar. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. When your cable company keeps you on hold, you get angry. When you get angry, you go blow off steam. When you go blow off steam, accidents happen. When accidents happen, you get an eye patch. When you get an eye patch, people think you're tough. When people think you're tough, people want to see how tough. And when people want to see how tough, you wake up in a roadside ditch. Don't wake up in a roadside ditch. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. When you pay too much for cable, you throw things. When you throw things, people think you have anger issues. When people think you have anger issues, your schedule clears up. When your schedule clears up, you grow a scraggly beard. When you grow a scraggly beard, you start taking in stray animals. And when you start taking in stray animals, you can't stop taking in stray animals. Stop taking in stray animals. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
This is Beth.
Hi.
Oh, congratulations. When are you due?
I'm not pregnant.
Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
You're totally thin.
You look very sexy.
For life's bleachable moments, all it takes is 3/4 of a cup.
Ray, I don't know. Are you sure clicking this thing will get us online?
Well, try dragging it.
Faster. You're just a mouse click away from a better way to rent movies. Blockbuster Total Access. Movies through the mail plus movies through the store. One low price.
Here's the problem. We forgot to plug it in.
Oh! Don't even think about it! Get a free trial at your Blockbuster store or Blockbuster.com.
Old Spice body spray will make you feel so powerful to blow your mind right in front of your face. Goodbye. Oh no! Power!
Automatic freshness, softness, and static control has never been easier with the Bounce dryer bar. I just stick it to the inside of my dryer, and I never have to remember.
Oh, Old Spice body spray makes you smell like power! It's so powerful it sells itself in other people's commercials. You smell like outdoor freshness.
You smell like power.
Yeah, I do. Power!
Try
For
this.
professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
Back here with Mickey B, the Prince of Rock and Roll, Rob Rush from all kinds of radio stations.
All kinds. 94.3 The Shark.
94.3 The Shark, WKJY.
B103.
You got B103.
WHLI.
WHLI. You got the Ducks. You could do the Mets.
Well, the Mets.
You do everybody.
I'm part-time for them.
Now, the reason I brought you in here, Robbie, is because you are younger than, of course, Kenny Vance and myself.
A little bit.
But you're a big Kenny Vance fan. Why?
I found out about him with Eddie and the Cruisers. And my father was a big fan of the doo-wops and stuff. So, and then when I found out that I wasn't who the guy was singing, that was Sal, like you mentioned earlier. I knew Michael Paré was John Cafferty. So who was Sal? And I looked it up. It was the same guy that sang that song, "Looking for an Echo." And then as I got into radio, you know, good friend with Don K. Reed. He's one of my mentors, and you know, just people that were surrounded by the music kind of influenced me. So people will look at me and go, "Well, you're a rock guy. What makes you like the doo-wops?" It's handed down, I guess, from generation.
That's what it is, right?
So yeah, that's what it is.
Well, we got a guy here that's just outstanding, and of course he's Kenny Vance, and he's part of the Planetones. And Kenny, tell me a little bit about what we're going to do. We're going to have you do a couple of songs for us. What would be the song coming up?
You mean the live show?
No, live with you. I want you to sing live.
Oh, you know, I always loved Pledging My Love, Johnny Ace.
Johnny Ace, great song.
Yeah.
We're all set to do it?
Yeah.
Here we go, Mr. Kenny Vance.
Forever, my darling, my love will be true. Always and forever, I'll love only you.
heart said you're commanding to keep love and to hold. Making you happy is my desire. Loving you is my goal. I'll forever love you for the rest of my days. I'll never part from you and your loving ways.
Oh, that was beautiful, Mr. Kenny Vance. Absolutely marvelous. And, of course, a dear friend of ours sang that song as well, Elvis Presley.
Oh.
And he did that. And, of course, these guys came out in, I guess, 1956, Johnny Ace. And
54.
54 it was,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
What's 2 years between friends? Hey, with Kenny Vance and Kenny, I love these songs. I mean, you have, I don't know, your repertoire could go on, I guess, for hundreds of songs. And
You want to sing one with us?
not right now. You want me to sing the song now? What song am I going to sing? Do another song, and then maybe I'll sing something with you later, but I got to think what we possibly do.
All right.
Give me another song. What would you like to do this
How
time?
about, remember the Donnie Owens?
Yeah?
Had a song called Need You.
Oh, what a great song.
How about that?
Gorgeous song. People don't even hear that song
No,
anymore.
we
You're all
don't.
set to do it?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Here we are. Kenny Vance.
Need you, your tenderness, your understanding heart. I hurt for you each minute we're apart. I need my angel now. I miss you. I miss the funny little things you do. I miss your sweetness and your sadness too. I miss your every move. When our flame of love was burning high, we vowed our love would never die. Seems like your love for me is gone. I wish I knew. I hope I'm wrong. Come back to me. Come back and help me find the will to live in this old troubled world of take and give. I need you by my side. I need you by my side. I need you by my
Song, Kenny. I mean, these songs are so romantic. They're gorgeous,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
How do you find the, I mean, the repertoire that you put together? I mean, you must listen to all different sounds on it and just say, that's a song for me, huh?
Yeah.
How do you pick it out?
Well, you know, like you play the music all week long, and like if you had a guitar, you can, you know, play around with them, and then you all of a sudden you say, what a beautiful song this is. This 60 years later, this is a song that anyone can understand.
Just gorgeous, right?
And it's a gorgeous song, yeah.
Now, you start off on the street corners like anybody else doing doo-wop music, right?
Sure.
And I know you love Frankie Lyman, the Teenagers. I know you love Louis Lyman and the Teen Chorus. Oh,
sorry, man.
See, that guitar, now let me just say something about this guitar so everybody understands. This guitar was in the flood.
Right.
During Sandy.
And I haven't used this
guitar
lucky, since the hurricane.
We're lucky it works.
Yeah. But
you know,
it
makes that noise.
I have to get the
thing fixed.
Yeah.
There's like a short because of the water. I still think there's water in there.
Yeah.
And you know how I knew there was water in there? I found a fish on the floor. So you have to be very, very careful. That's why things are a little fishy. But here's what I want to do. I want to go to a clip that I have of you singing outside the building with Bobby J, great guy. Sang with a group called Aladdins. He was on CBS FM. Right. And, of course, and the original Teenagers. Yeah, as you were doing this clip.
This clip was done. I got off of a bus in Sharon, Ohio, which is the home of the Vocal Hall of Fame. And I get off the bus and I see these guys standing there, and they just say, "Well, let's go."
Come on, let's do it.
I took my bag off. If you look in the back, you see the like the guards.
Yeah.
And they're like just standing there, like, you know, they can't believe what they're
saying. The sound.
Yeah.
Let's look at it right now. Take a look.
Sad
Kenny Vance and the Planetones, and I'm So Happy or What a Fool's Fall in Love, but looking for an echo, his signature song. So if you're going to make a mistake, it's not a bad way to go, Kenny, with the right song, right?
Well, we're going to have to
Visit
duplicate,
it. You know what I'll do?
And how about singing some a cappella now? Or some.
You want to do a little song? What are you going to do?
Used to sing.
You want to do something?
You cheated, you lied, you said that you loved me. You cheated, you lied, you said that you want me. Oh, what can I do but just keep on loving you? Love is something you know nothing about. Love is something you can't live without. So please try to love me. Love me like I love you. Oh, please. You lied. You said that you love me. You cheated. You lied. You said that you want me. Oh, what can I do? Oh, what can I do? Oh, what can I do? Not bad, huh? Let me say hello to Chip. We got Chip playing keyboards, and of course, Chip is on your band, as well as some of the other great members of the group. And as time is going by, Kenny Vance, I want to thank you
my pleasure.
so much for coming on here and sharing a little fun with us. And
anytime.
Hope you enjoyed yourself as
really
well.
Did.
And we're going to see Kenny Vance, of course, and the Planetones this Saturday night at the Patchogue Theater, along with the Duprees and so many great other acts. And Kenny, how about we did the signature song? Can we pick out another song? And there's a lot of them that you could do. What would you like to do then in the show?
How about Gloria?
Gloria,
Everybody loves
love it. And I have a sister, Gloria. She's in a hospital right now. I want you to send that to her.
Gloria, this is for you, for a speedy recovery.
Thank you, Kenny. Okay. Appreciate it. Till the next time, from Kenny Vance, Chip, Rob Rush, Mickey B, Frankie D in Florida, God bless all of you. So long, everybody.
Gloria, it's not me. Gloria, it's not shades. Gloria, and she's not in love with me. Oh, can't you see? It's not me.